I'm sad about emptying my son's inheritance that his grandfather gave him to save his sister and telling him it was a family sacrifice. We all bought the car together, but my daughter lent it out just once, and that one time ruined our lives. I'm not exaggerating. I'm Katia. I have twin children, Christian and Maria. They're 17. We were always a family of effort, not luxury. The car was a joint project. My husband and Christian put in money. I put in the last of the university fund. We saw it as a family tool, something to help them move around, work, study. The idea was for both of them to use it, but let's be honest, Maria needed it more. Christian works with his father. He comes and goes with him. Maria had more activities, her classes, her things. And besides, he was always more mature. He never complained much. He accepted, he understood. The accident was on a Tuesday. Maria had told me she wasn't going to use the car that day, but in the afternoon I get a call from an unknown number. Hospital. Emergency. We arrived with my husband and found them both, Maria and her boyfriend. She with a neck brace, unable to feel her legs. He bleeding, fractured. The car unrecognizable. First it was fear, then guilt. When she woke up, Maria said she'd only lent it for a little while, that her boyfriend had a license, that he was sober, that she didn't do it out of irresponsibility. They just needed to move some things, that she never thought anything would happen. I couldn't even speak. I just looked at her with her eyes full of morphine and her body half motionless. The doctors told us the worst, spinal cord damage. That she probably wouldn't walk again. That the process was long, expensive, uncertain, that every decision was going to matter. And then came the second stab. The insurance didn't cover it. The report said the driver wasn't authorized. A third party, a cold word. They explained to us that it was in the contract, that we signed it, that there was no going back. Less than a week later, the boyfriend's parents sued us for negligence. They said their son was left with permanent injuries, that he could no longer play sports, that he would have emotional trauma, that our daughter was reckless, and that we as owners of the vehicle were responsible. Everything fell on us. We had no way to face it. Maria still couldn't feel her legs. She had to use diapers. She couldn't shower alone. She cried every night. I had to hold her while talking to lawyers, doctors, therapists. We sold things. The first thing was the university fund. The second, the savings Christian had from working with his father. It was uncomfortable to tell him, but there was no choice. I explained that it was an emergency, that we were doing it for his sister, for everyone, that we were going to get it back. He didn't say it out loud, but it hurt him. I saw it in his eyes. He clenched his jaw. He nodded in silence. We lost the lawsuit. We had to pay. We had no insurance, no help. Every cent was gone, and I made decisions I didn't want to make, but I couldn't risk losing my daughter emotionally too. Christian started looking for scholarships. He didn't say anything else. He just stayed serious, tense, but there. And I thought, how lucky that at least one understands, that he doesn't complain, that he doesn't complicate things. I never stopped to think that he was also bleeding inside. After the trial, we were in the red. I had sold my rings, my husband, his tools. We lived with just enough. Maria barely slept. The therapies were expensive. There was no room to think about the future, just surviving the month. It was then that my father-in-law appeared with the only good news in months. He called us on a Sunday afternoon. We went to his house without the kids. We sat down and he said, direct as he is, I want to advance the twins' inheritance to you. It's $100,000, 50 for each of them. My husband and I looked at each other. We didn't know what to say. He continued. They're still minors, so legally I'm giving it to you. I trust you'll handle it well, and we did. Or at least we thought we did. We didn't use it for luxuries or for ourselves. The first thing was to pay the full debt from the boyfriend's trial. It had left us hanging with a legal debt of $40,000 that had to be closed. The next thing was Maria's intensive treatment, a specialized clinic, an electric chair, home adaptations, the basics so she wouldn't sink. We left everything covered, and we had some breathing room left, not much, about $8,000 that we saved in case there were relapses, in case something happened again. We didn't tell Christian anything, not because we wanted to hide it, but because it wasn't the time. How do you tell him, your grandfather left you 50,000, but we already used it for something else? He wasn't ready for that. Nobody would be. Besides, we weren't using it for everyone's good. Isn't that what a family does? A month later, Christian arrived with a paper. It was a student loan application. He had already enrolled in a community college. He said it was the minimum to start. Why didn't you tell us you needed help? I asked him. He didn't look at me because he didn't expect anything. That sentence left me cold. I wanted to tell him it wasn't like that we were doing everything we could, that we were just surviving, but I kept quiet. I didn't want to argue. Not with everything we had on our plates. Maria couldn't go to college. Her rehabilitation was full-time, but there was small, minimal progress, a finger that moved, a tingle. The doctors said that was a good sign, that gave us strength. Christian kept working, he didn't ask for anything, he didn't complain. He moved near the university to save on transportation. He said it was more practical. I offered him money once from the little that was left. He said no, that he was used to managing on his own. I saw it as maturity, as strength, as someone who knew that sometimes you have to give in for the common good, but what I saw as maturity for him was maybe abandonment. Everything broke on the day of the family reunion. It was small, a lunch with cousins and uncles. Maria didn't want to go. She still didn't feel ready to see everyone, so my husband, Christian, and I went. At first it was all laughter, food, anecdotes, until my father-in-law, with his glass in his hand, said to Christian, "And how's university? Did the inheritance cover it?" Christian frowned. "What inheritance?" "The 50,000 we gave you a few months ago," said the grandfather, smiling. "What did you invest it in?" Silence. "I haven't received $1, Christian replied. Dry, cold. My father-in-law got serious. He looked at his son. "My husband." "What do you mean you didn't?" My husband swallowed. He stuttered. "It wasn't enough. We had to cover the trial and the therapies." Christian didn't shout. He just said with a different voice, "You used my part." I stepped in. I told him not to be selfish. That it was for his sister, that he knew everything we went through, that if we did it, it was because we trusted he would understand. He didn't answer. He got up from the table, grabbed his things, and before leaving he said, "It's not the first time you've left me out for her. But at least before it didn't cost me $50,000. After that sentence, nobody said anything, not a word. You could only hear the cutlery shaking on the plates. My husband was left with his mouth half open. I felt my face hot, shame, anger, something I couldn't name. Christian walked out the door without looking back. The grandfather, with a face as serious as stone, got up. He went to a dresser. He took out a white envelope, came back to the table and put it in front of my husband. "This is what I gave you. The transfer receipt, the terms, everything signed. So you can't say you didn't know. I did my duty to my grandchildren." He left it there, sat down and said the coldest thing I've ever heard him say. "If I had known you were going to leave him out, I wouldn't have given you a cent." I tried to explain. I told him that an emergency doesn't give you time to make budgets. That it was either that or lose everything, that our daughter couldn't even get up, that it wasn't that we wanted to harm Christian. It was a quick decision. Difficult. It wasn't quick, he interrupted me. It was hidden. That's not the same. The whole family was divided. Some defended us, others didn't. Nobody said much out loud, but it showed. Christian didn't come back home. He didn't answer messages. Maria asked once if he was angry. We told him he was busy. We didn't want her to feel guilty, although deep down we knew she already did. 2 days passed. Christian responded with a dry audio. "And what about mine?" I was silent. I asked him if we could talk. He said no, that there was nothing left to clarify, that he just wanted his share, that he didn't trust us anymore, that if we were going to fix it, it had to be with numbers. I offered him 10,000. It was the only thing we could get together quickly. "No," my grandfather said. He gave me 50. I want at least 25. The minimum. What's fair to pay my debt and continue with my life without you in it. I wrote him a very long text. I asked him not to be like that, that his sister needed him, that she was making progress with rehabilitation, but that there was still a long way to go, that if we now had to divert money to him, we could put everything we had achieved with her at risk. "And you're telling me this as a mother or as an accountant?" my husband replied, and also tried to call him. He told him he understood his anger, but that he was going too far, that he couldn't turn the family against us, that he couldn't treat us like enemies after everything. Christian just said, "I didn't treat you like enemies. You treated me like a cashier." So we went to his room, the one he rented near the university. We brought bread, coffee, as if it were a normal visit. We knocked. He opened. He looked at us without expression. "What do you want?" "To talk." I said, "Talk." We tried to go in. He didn't let us. So we talked at the door, standing. "Christian, this is going too far. What happened with the money was out of necessity, out of urgency. It wasn't against you. We never wanted to harm you." "You didn't want to," he said, "but you did." "We're willing to give you something," my husband added. "It's just that we can't do the 25,000 at once." Christian went inside, came back with a box, one of those boxes where you keep important things. He opened it, put it on the floor and threw on the floor, one by one, envelopes with university acceptance letters from private universities for partial scholarships he couldn't accept because he had no way to cover the difference. "Do you know what this cost me?" he shouted at us. "While you were using me as a silent bank, I was giving this up." Each letter, an opportunity one let pass because it wasn't the time. I tried to calm him down. I told him I understood, that we had suffered too, that his sister, my sister, is not to blame. "You're to blame," he shouted. "You decided for everyone, for her, for me, for your own limits." My husband said something that finally broke him. "You should put up with it." As a man, Christian was silent. Then he said, "If you don't pay me what's mine, I'll take it the hard way." "Are you threatening us?" "No, I'm warning you. And if you don't leave now, I'm calling the police." We left without bread, without coffee, without a son, and with no way back. After that visit, we didn't talk about anything else for days. My husband was silent, but I couldn't be. I didn't understand how Christian had reached that point. We had made mistakes, yes, but that didn't justify the threat. A lawsuit against his own parents. I sent him a long message. I told him we had done what we could, that if we hadn't used that money, his sister would probably be worse or dead from sadness. That we weren't denying him anything out of spite, that if he asked for 25,000 we could give it to him in installments, but to think about it, that we still had time. His response came the next day. A single line. "I don't trust you anymore. Everything will be through legal channels." My stomach tightened. I went to Maria's room. She was sleeping. I stroked her hair. I thought if she knew her brother was willing to leave us on the street. I didn't want to continue. My husband tried one more time. He sent him an audio. He spoke to him as a father. He told him he had worked with him since he was a kid, that he always supported him, that he took care of him, that he never lacked anything, that he couldn't treat us like enemies. Christian answered curtly, "I didn't lack anything because I learned not to ask." "That doesn't mean you didn't take." There I felt attacked, as if everything we did was worthless, as if only the mistakes counted. And it bothered me a lot that he talked about his money as if he wasn't part of this family, as if it wasn't for his sister's good. One night, while I was organizing Maria's medicine boxes, I told my husband that maybe it was time to sell the car. He looked at me exhausted. "It won't be enough." And he's already decided. This isn't about money anymore, it's about punishment. I didn't see it that way. For me, Christian was hurt, but it could still be fixed. There had to be some love under all that anger. But what came wasn't love, it was a court summons. He was formally suing us, along with his grandfather, for misappropriation of funds. And not just for the 50,000, but also for interest, damages, and losses. The figure was absurd, unfair, cold. I tried to talk to his grandfather. "I called," he answered. I told him this was getting out of hand, that we were family, to please stop him, to talk to Christian, that not everything had to be resolved this way, that we had suffered too, that we did it for everyone, for him too. Silence. "You've already made decisions without consulting him. Now it's his turn." And he hung up. Our lawyer was clear. The money had a legal recipient. Even if we had the best intentions, we had no right to move it without notice, and even less to spend it all without keeping a record. I explained about the therapies, the trial, the clinic. He looked at me with a face of pity. The system doesn't judge intentions, it judges facts. Still, I didn't give up. I sent another message to Christian. I told him Maria wasn't well, that her progress had stalled, that guilt was affecting her, that if he kept pushing we would have to suspend her treatment. I asked him to think for once about how he would feel if he had to see his sister deteriorate because there was no money to help her. He didn't answer, so I was more direct. I wrote, I'm offering you the $25,000 in 2 payments. It's what you asked for at the beginning. It's fair. It's what we can do. Please, let's end this. Hours passed. The response was final. You had your chance. Now there's no deal. And there I knew it wasn't anger, it was a decision. The day of the hearing came. Maria didn't know. We told her we were going to a medical appointment. We didn't want to burden her anymore. We left her with everything prepared. I kissed her forehead and promised we'd be back soon. I didn't know that when we came back, nothing would be the same. The room was cold, with that dry smell of places where people go to lose things. Christian arrived before us. White shirt, closed face, not a single gesture. Beside him, the grandfather. Impeccable, implacable. We sat down. He didn't look at us. Our lawyer started strong. He said the money was used to attend to a medical emergency, that there was no intention of profit, that it was about a minor daughter with a critical condition. He said it was a tragedy, not a financial operation. That no part of the law said a mother should see her daughter paralyzed while protecting a bank transfer. It was an act of necessity, not malice, he repeated. Christian's lawyer was different, precise, lethal. He showed the papers, the dates, the movements. He said the money was delivered to its legal recipient for a specific purpose, that its use was never reported, that it was hidden, that the guardian acted without consent and without documentation, that it was by definition misappropriation. And then what we didn't expect happened. My father-in-law stood up and declared in a calm voice, without tremors. That money was for my grandchildren, so they could study, progress. If I had known it was going to be used entirely for one party, I wouldn't have given it. I didn't authorize that. He didn't look at us, he just spoke as if we were no longer family, as if he were speaking to us from a different platform. It was my turn to speak. I explained everything from the accident to the last medical receipt. I talked about the sleepless nights, the trial we lost, the fear of losing my daughter emotionally too. We didn't do it to harm Christian, we did it to save his sister. We did it for everyone, even for him. And why didn't you inform him? The judge asked. Because there was no time. Because everything was falling apart. Because we saw that money as what it was, a family resource. And do you think your son benefited? Yes, because if his sister isn't bedridden, if the family stays together, he also wins. The judge wrote something down. He said no more. The sentence was clear. We had to pay $5,000. Plus interest, plus damages, plus silence. When we came out we saw him. Christian was waiting for us outside the building. Still, with his arms crossed. We approached. I spoke to him first. We're going to pay you the $25,000. As you asked. That's it. Let's end this. Now it's 65, he said without raising his voice. But why? What do you gain from this? Your sister could be left without treatment. You know that. That's not my problem. My husband looked at him with contained anger. You're behaving as if we'd never done anything for you. Christian shrugged and you behaved as if I didn't exist. I exploded. We're telling you we're going to pay you. We offered you a way out. This isn't justice, it's revenge. No, he said, it's not revenge, it's a limit. And he left. He walked slowly. Not once did he look back. We sold the car, the jewelry, we mortgaged the house, all to pay him. Every transfer was a reminder, every signature a stab, but I kept repeating the same thing to myself. It wasn't theft, it was necessity. A month after the last payment, Christian disappeared. He didn't answer any more messages. We didn't see any reaction from him on social media, nothing. Total silence. I expected that after everything he would say something, a line, a that's it, something. But it wasn't as if he had deleted our last name from his life. Maria started to notice. At first she asked about him, then she stopped. Sometimes I'd find her looking at her cell phone, the chat open with her brother, without writing anything, just with the screen lit up. One night she told me, "Mom, if I had died, would you have also used his inheritance to bury me?" I didn't know what to answer. I lied to her. "Don't say that, my love." But I thought about it. I thought about it all night. And I don't know what hurts more, that she asked me or that I'm not clear what my answer would be. Weeks passed, the house became heavier, the hallways longer. My husband barely spoke. He worked all day, came home, sat down and said nothing. I clung to the idea that there was still time, that something could still be repaired, that just one gesture was needed. So in December I wrote to Christian. I sent him a simple message. I thought about it a lot. I didn't want to sound like a stalker. I wanted him to know we needed him. "It's all over, Christian. You've had your tantrum. Maria misses you. We saved your favorite dish for Christmas. Come, even for a little while. This doesn't have to hurt anymore." He didn't answer. And I thought, maybe he needs more time. Maybe. But what came was something else, a court letter, a notification that Christian had requested an order to prohibit us from using his name as a medical or family contact, that he didn't authorize us to include him in legal, health, or any other type of decisions, not even as an emergency contact. That was his way of saying, I'm not part of this anymore. My husband read the letter, folded it, and locked himself in the bathroom. I didn't hear him cry, but when he came out his eyes were red. We didn't talk about it. He never mentioned it again. I did send him one last message. "How can you do this? Your sister didn't ask you for anything. We did it for you too. Do you really prefer it to end this way? I can't believe you've gone this far." He never answered. And now I walk through this house with the echo of what it was. I pass by his room that doesn't smell like anything anymore. I hear Maria crying in silence and I bite my tongue. Because if I speak, the guilt suffocates her, and still I don't think I did anything so wrong. I did what I had to do for my daughter, for the family, for everyone. And if he doesn't understand, it's because he never wanted to understand. I can't believe he did this. Comment 1. You couldn't mortgage the house before touching what wasn't yours. You stole his future and expect him to thank you. Comment 2. It hurt you more that they sued you than the fact that you used his money in secret. You're the guilty one, not the victim. Katia responds, it hurt me that a son I raised with love believed we betrayed him on purpose. We didn't do this to hurt him. It was a limit situation. Comment 3. Telling him you did it for everyone while leaving one with nothing is emotional gaslighting. Comment 4. This wasn't necessity, it was convenience, because mortgaging your house affected you. Using his inheritance. No, Katia responds, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. If something is more accessible at that moment, it doesn't mean you do it for convenience, you do it for survival. Comment 5. Your daughter was left with physical scars. Your son was left with traumas you don't even know about. And you wash your hands with, I just did what I could. Comment 6. The coldness with which you wrote. You've had your tantrum is the cruelest part of the post. You yourself signed the end. Katia responds, it was a way of saying it was time to heal. What did we gain by continuing to fight? What solution was there in staying stuck in anger? Comment 7. And the worst is you're not even sorry. You're just angry because you had to pay the consequences. Comment 8. You didn't want to ask for his permission because you knew he would say no. You knew it was wrong and you did it anyway. Katia responds, maybe he would have said no, but that doesn't change the fact that the situation didn't give us time. What did we do? We waited for his signature. While his sister was sinking. Comment 9. Christian didn't leave because of the money. He left because he understood he was never a priority, just a resource. Comment 10. It wasn't theft, it was necessity. Tell that to the bank the next time you empty someone else's account. Katia responds, a mother is not a bank. A family is not managed like an account. If you see all this as numbers, then you didn't understand anything of what we went through.